Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Port Concord as part of the 5 Builders, 1 City collaboration. And in today's episode, we are going to spruce up our downtown by adding some unique buildings. In addition, we are going to take a look at our city services to make sure that our coverage is good everywhere, because I've noticed that we have a couple of issues. And unlike episode 19, rather than just watching the city burn, we're going to take care of them. So that's where we're going to start out. I want to take a look at all of our city services and make sure we have adequate coverage. We have plenty of money, so it would make sense to pay for these services. And the first one I want to start out with is death care. And I want to look at this one in particular because I noticed that we have 200 people waiting to be picked up. 200 dead bodies. That's not good. And I don't know that I've necessarily contributed to this in a positive way. I added one crematorium over here, but I did add some residential over here without any crematoriums. You can see body. And then if you look over here, I'm really concerned about this area. This is an area that has a lot of residential and no crematoriums. So I noticed that there's an empty plot of land right here. To me, this is probably a place where we can sneak in some death care. It's interesting, this wasn't vacant before. So something must have changed, but that's okay. We're going to take it. So death care is the type of use that could be in any district, and in most zoning codes, that is the case, that certain uses like death care can be anywhere, churches, schools. In more progressive zoning codes, you'll even see uses such as daycares being allowed anywhere, even though they can be the type of uses that are really problematic, depending on where they are. So one of the things I'm noticing right away is that our coverage for this use is not good, and the primary reason for that is the lack of proper roadway connectivity through here. So we're going to have to saturate this area in this type of use to be able to make any sort of headway. So it's certainly disappointing that that's where we're going to have to go, but I'm going to add probably more than I would otherwise have to. And this is why sprawl is bad. So it's not just death care in the game. It's all sorts of city services that are more expensive to deliver when you sprawl. And if you're going to sprawl, at least be connected. But if you're not connected, you're going to have a bad time. So, and that's what we're doing. We're just to provide coverage, to even get it in the green at all, we have to really saturate this, which I'm sure will be controversial. And there will be a number of people saying, just let it go. Well, we're not going to just let it go. We're going to saturate the coverage and make sure we don't have a death wave. That's not going to be on me. I'm not going to do that again. So maybe I'm overcompensating, but it's probably better to overcompensate than under. So I'm looking at the best location here. I'm probably going to put this off Clark Street and Clark Way because that gives us access to the roundabout and ultimately most of the city or the town over here. This is probably, actually, that's not a great location. Oh. Setting, we'll make sure it's daytime. I'm actually going to put that over here. I want to get this, it stinks, it's on a dirt road, but I don't want it to be too close to that one that we just placed over here. So that is 5 crematoriums, and this still doesn't have adequate coverage, but we're going to call it good enough. Okay, so next up, I want to take a look at healthcare, and you kind of see the exact same scenario again. It's the same areas that lack coverage that again lack coverage. This. So I've actually created problems by adding in that path, but I do see an opening here, so we're going to take it. This isn't great, and there will be a significant portion of this area that does not have coverage unless we add a little bit more. Yeah, it's not great, but this is the way that we keep our city healthy, so we're going to deal, and we could probably use one up here. It's just kind of a challenge. The lack of roadway connectivity in this part of the city is really staggering. And I think that is part of I guess the struggle of 5 builders, 1 city is because you are not responsible for everything, you can miss that. That's also part of the struggle of a real city, is you have lots of different interests and lots of different people doing lots of different things, and they're not always thinking about the best for the entire community, thinking about their particular area. I think that we're going to add a clinic right here. We're going to use a little bit of eminent domain. And this is a good area for the clinic because it should provide coverage. Oh, there's no connection there anymore to the TOD. It'll be close, but it's not great. And then over in this area over here, we could probably use some help too. I think we might just... it's really a struggle, and I hate decommissioning so much of the city for this, but we're going to do it. We're going to use a little bit more eminent domain. 1 more clinic. We need this. We'll look at our other city services as well. Elementary schools were teetering. I added 1, but that wasn't enough. Over here, again, no elementary school. So let's add a school over here. We're going to need to use some eminent domain again. So we're going to add a school. And then with that school, we should add a park. So we'll add a small playground next to it. And that provides pretty horrendous coverage. We're going to add 1 more over here. And the topography is not being respected. I think that I would love to respect the topography. It's a real challenge in this particular area. So we did provide a path down to the school over here. This whole area is kind of lacking coverages. And I know that Zardis wanted that to be the case. So I don't want to add a million parks to here to boost the property values. But I do feel like everyone deserves the dignity of a certain amount of amenities. Just because you're not super well off doesn't mean that you don't deserve a park. That's unfortunately that does happen. And it's really a shame when it does. But we're playing a game, so let's live in a more idealized version of the world. Okay, so this is a good thing. I think that we also are lacking high school availability over here. Yeah, none. So this area over here and part of what I developed previously also lacks that coverage. This should not be on an arterial, which Mack Street is. It's certainly functioning as an arterial, so we don't want to put it there. We might actually need to develop a little bit. Let's look at the topography. Okay. It's basically a hill. So we could terrace this up, but I think we're just going to add a little connection right there and make a place for our school campus. We'll add a basketball court over there, tennis court, and I want a pool as well. So we'll go into our health services and add a pool. So this isn't the ideal location for any of this, but I think that it's necessary and important that we have some sort of connection over here, and some sort of services. So I do want to see, I think there's a bus route going past here. Yeah, we have a fairly long route, and it looks to be an express route, but I still want to provide a connection to the school. So let's go ahead. We're going to relocate some stops. We're going to actually bring that into the campus, which will be a terrible deviation. I'm sure the transit company would love that. And then we'll move this to add some separation. No, we can't do that. We're going to have the kids cross the street. There'll be a crossing guard. So that'll help. That's a good change. So we also have fire hazard, and again, we need some coverage over here. In this case, I think I'm going to sneak it in with a little bit of anarchy. That will be helpful. And I'm going to take a look at police coverage because I have a sneaking suspicion we're in the exact same place, and we are. Let's back this off just a little bit. There we go. So at least we have services. We need to have adequate services everywhere. That's not gonna suffice to just ignore it. So we're good. We're good there. I think that we have good coverage everywhere else. We have fire coverage in that area I built a couple builds ago. School coverage is okay. University should be covered by... We do not have adequate university coverage either. Interesting. Well, I will point that out for someone in the next build. And we have one library. It's still that one library that I built a while back. No other libraries have been constructed. I think we're going to use a bit of eminent domain again. By a bit, I mean a whole bunch to be able to fit this library in. So again, at the height of realism, we have used eminent domain for a library. I'm sure that everyone would be thrilled with that, and with the city planner for what he's done. But we're going for it. The people who like libraries are certainly happy with me. And those are the people that were chirping the loudest about not having a library. We should make it look like we respected the topography. We certainly didn't. There we go. Good enough for me. So I think for the most part we have good city services now. Park coverage is spotty in some areas, particularly in downtown. And I think the way that we're going to handle downtown is to add some unique buildings, which is what I really want to focus on. Over here, I'm going to let this be, as Artist mentioned, he wanted less coverage so that the values don't go through the roof. That makes some sense. Over here, we also don't have adequate park availability, which is unfortunate. I'm wondering what is this doing to our values? You can see that is certainly not a very valuable area. We actually have this little mining town that has better value, and downtown is really suffering too because of the lack of services. So this is something we want to take care of. You can see that the district I built last time is probably one of the more valuable parts of the city. I'm curious, 80. I was trying to find a more valuable place, and I don't see one. So that's a consequence of location and city service availability. That's one of the things about this game. And, in reality, that availability would make this so much more valuable. The lack of availability would drive up the prices in the downtown area because everyone would want to live next to things, and this is the only place that has everything. So it's not all that unlike reality, but it's certainly unfortunate, and it's something that, we might want to think about down the line. But we're going to move forward and think a little bit about unique buildings. So you can start to see the terracing of our downtown. We have a taper, comes up, and there's kind of a crescendo right here, and then it comes back down until we meet the highway, which acts as that division where the density really starts to fall. So I want to think about what is going to make the most sense down here. And I think the thing when you're planning unique buildings to think about is you don't want big buildings everywhere. You don't want signature buildings all over the place. You want to make sure that the couple buildings that you're adding really represent the city itself. So I'm probably going to be looking at some of these creator buildings because I think that there's some of the more unique ones. And I don't want to just pepper in every single building. You go to New York City, you think of the New World Trade Center building, you think of the Empire State Building, and those iconic buildings matter, and they make the city what it is. It doesn't mean you can't have lots of large buildings, but you don't want iconic buildings everywhere. And I think the game kind of goads you into placing a ton of buildings all over the place. So we are going to place some, and I think that the content creator pack really has some great assets. The question I have, we're going to have to look at zoning. So I want to try to match the zoning that we're replacing with the zoning that is there. And then I also want to make sure that it's in a place that's logical. So a couple of factors going into my decision-making process. The other thing is, These buildings will have a view of the water regardless, so you have some smaller buildings along the coast, and if I were to add this big honking building right here, I'm blocking the views of some of these other buildings. So we can do that to a certain extent, but we don't want to put them all on the coast. So this is really kind of where I want to focus the height, and I want to replace some office buildings. So we're going to do our first one, place our first one. I think we're going to place that right about here. Kidding. There's something that is blocking us. Ah, a good thing. So, and that's public transit, which is another thing we want to contemplate. So I might switch the sides of the road for this building. Have that right there. And again, we're building out that peak of the downtown. So thinking about this, we have a company headquarters, an office skyscraper, and then a couple of these kind of Art Deco-ish looking buildings, which I also would like to work in. So the company headquarters, this is one that I think would look good set further back. But I want to look at our zoning. And I think we could replace something on Concord Boulevard. Now, this is going to obstruct our grid. So we would actually have to go even further back if we wanted this to fit or rework our network. And I think the choice that we're going to make is to rework our network. So we're going to pause this for a moment. What I'm going to do is break things up here for just a moment. We're going to redevelop this area. And you can already see that I've broken a connection here. So we're going to need to bring this over just a little bit. We'll reestablish that connection. And then we're going to bring this back. So let's take a look at our building again. We place that here. Maybe we'll just place it right away. So I used Anarchy to get this in place, and that's going to help us because we've got things that we've got to relocate. So I'm going to extend this new street out, upgrade the road here. It'll be kind of a shaky turn there, but it'll do the trick. And then we're going to connect across here. Now we have a post office here that we're going to need to relocate. So we'll turn Anarchy off and put that right there. We'll go through and we'll make that connection. Now we do have some roads underneath this building now. So I was able to get rid of those. And we should have a nice connection at this point. So I don't want to add another connection here that's going to muck up traffic. And you can see that we've already got some issues, or we could potentially have issues if we're not smart about it. So what I'm going to do is add a pedestrian connection through here. And that doesn't need to be connected to work. So we are going to just place it like that. Aha, it seems that I've missed a road connection through there. I'm a little bit curious. Let's go through, hop out of here. And I want to see, is this a stop? No, it's actually a road segment. So let's go through. We will make sure we have this selected correctly. You see we've got that road segment right there. We will delete that. There we go. So now we've got this placed nicely. We should look at the zoning here. We'll bring it back to the way it was. Or the way it's going to be now, rather. That's good. I like that. We still have a road segment there. I thought we got rid of that. There we go. Now we definitely did. So that is an awesome improvement in my mind. You can see again, we're building that skyline. Terracing things a bit. I do want to, this is a really key building, and I think that we should make sure that we are taking pride in this area. Add in some smaller trees. Now I know that some of these are going to go away, but I'll get it placed right now. And we should be good to go. So maybe not the most apparent solution, but I think it works well. I just want to make sure that pedestrians are going to use this path. Let's speed it up for just a moment so I can check it out. So they are not using the path, but I'm going to just leave it. it allows me to zone on this in this area, and ultimately that's my biggest concern, and it looks good. And sometimes you just got to do what looks good. So I want to add a few more buildings. Let's take a look at the size of some of these. So this is a monster building, and I would love to work this in. I do think that this one's going to be a bit problematic unless we do some pretty significant reconfiguration. So one thing that we could do to fit this in, we could take this area right here and drop the road. That is our tourism area, so I don't want to do that there. But right here, we could add that in by dropping the road. And I kind of like that idea. So in reality, these buildings would probably conform to the area around them. Getting the right-of-way back from the city would be a mess. That doesn't really fit though, so I think we're gonna skip it now that I think a little bit more, a little bit longer, a little bit harder about that. So this type of development might be what would push some of these uses to relocate. So we do have like this bakery and this small warehouse. These really don't fit here anymore, and I'm really strongly considering moving them. They could sell this property and get so much money that they could build a factory twice the size. So I think that that's where we're gonna lean on relocating some of these uses. And this is really a use that supports the farm. So I think we're gonna move it over here. Same with the warehouse. I actually want to give some thought to this placement. This is not ideal. Chalmers Street would be acting as an arterial. It's also very hilly here. It's just kind of a rough spot. I'm going to move this off that road just a bit. The idea being that it can at least conform a little bit better. So this would probably be an area where you'd expect to see some sort of embankment. But if I back it off the road, it cleans up the grading a little bit. Okay, so that changed what was in there. Actually, no, it didn't. We're good. So they're looking for animal products. I wonder if we have any other warehouses down here. I don't think that we do. Was it? So I think we're fine. That said, now that we've eliminated that use, we can do some more here. So let's go ahead. We'll get rid of that cement. We have this new area that we could redevelop with something that fits a bit better. And this is the exact kind of use that I think would fit a little bit better. Maybe even this larger tower that we wanted to make fit, but we couldn't. So the way that we could make this fit would be to reconstruct the roadway network a bit. That's still going to be kind of a challenge, so I think we are going to do it. We're going to cut Market Street right here. And we will locate the building on 11th Street, and then we will extend 12th up. And then to make this work, we will move it a bit, bend this around. There we go. That's good. So you can start to see our density, and that feels dense now. That feels incredibly dense. I don't want to add all that many more buildings, truthfully, because I do think that we are getting to a place where, we're going to overdo it if we go too far. But we are going to add value in this area, and I feel like that kind of balances everything out a bit. Maybe we'll add a couple more, but we're going to spread them out. So this is kind of our district that has a lot of our unique architecture, and then we're going to add some more over here. So one of the things I'd like to do is improve the land values over here, and right here, right along Main Street, I think there's an opportunity. So we have some of these narrow, unique buildings to the rail yard shopping center and the station department store. This is not the location that they are planned, the asset creator planned them to be in. And it's along an arterial, which is not ideal, but I think we're going to place it there. And this will at least improve our land values in this area. So this is me playing the game a little bit. And it's unique in that it allows us to fill in some density here. I might do the exact same thing with the rail yard shopping center, which this will be a little shopping district now. Ideally, people would park behind it and access it or park inside of it. Thankfully, I don't think that this is going to add lots of access, but we're going to have to pretend that people park in the rear of it, and we're fronting this on the street because that is the appropriate place to front it. So that is improving the values. You can see things redeveloping, and it's redeveloping a ways back. Let's take a look. Our land value is really improved in this area, and now when we look at downtown, values are moving up. So we still have some depressed values because of some of the uses that are still in the downtown area, but we're catching up to some of these other areas. And that makes sense for a downtown area that is really invested in itself. And this area has certainly reinvested in itself quite a bit. We're going to do a little bit more and add a couple more of the smaller buildings here along Main Street. I think that might be about all that we add. So at least when you come in on Main Street now, there are some unique buildings. It feels like interesting corridor. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I think that feels organic and good. So I'm just going to peruse through one more time, and I might do a couple of things. So we have this temple, and then this could be of value to boost the land values over here, and I think that this would be a reasonable spot for it as well. Have that temple in a residential area, and I imagine this being gifted. There's something very similar that happened in my community where a temple was gifted. It was taken apart and shipped here piece by piece and reassembled in the city. And it's an amazing tourist attraction. It also holds great significance to that immigrant community that helped support that coming here. So that is the sort of thing I would imagine happening. And from there, we could certainly add some more. We have all of these auto-oriented uses, and if we wanted to get really, really cheeky about it, we could certainly go ahead and just start adding these along. So these boost land value, but they're not. I mean, these aren't exciting uses, but I think it would make a lot of sense along Concord Boulevard where it suburbanizes to have a bunch of auto-oriented type of uses. So I think we're going to add these on here. We're adding a bunch of access to Concord, making it a Stroad. Not ideal, but it happens. We have the service center, but we're not going to place that here. That is not the goal. I just want a few different sorts of auto-oriented assets. Since this is a suburban area and we've solidified that with some of the choices that we've made, why not do it? Why not really do it? So we are really doing it at this point. And I want to grade this and add some landscaping around here just to clean it up a little bit. And what would this area be without a bit of landscaping? Okay, nothing too fancy. Just a couple of trees added in. And I'm going to connect these parking lots because I would imagine that a single developer comes through here. And there's some efficiency in building this all at once. So that is the goal. It'd be nice to get these other ones a little bit closer too. I might use Move It. So we'll actually remove some of these trees that we added. Move things a bit. Really make that feel like it's one developer that went through here and made this what it is. So I think that makes I'm not going to say it makes a ton of sense. I think it's realistic. It's the sort of thing that you see dotting the landscape, at least here in America. And truthfully, when I've been in other places too, I've seen it even if we don't all like it. As I just come through here, just love placing these trees. I think they look so nice. Such a great asset. And there are these blank spaces that to me are just screaming for trees. That makes a city feel more like it's in nature. So this is it's going to draw a lot of activity and potentially be what causes this road to upgrade to a proper collector, a 4-lane collector. You can have a 2-lane collector, which it is, but it could lead this to being a 4-lane collector in the future, for better or for worse. Because when you get all these auto-oriented uses, we're going to have, this is a less than ideal situation. You're going to have to come around here, whip a U-turn and to get to these businesses. So not great. And that happens. When I lived in LA, it was all over the place. You have to take a U-turn really to get anywhere. So it kind of became fairly normal for me. So it's interesting. I'm noticing lots of issues over here. So I tried to resolve those city service issues, and you can see it just didn't work. There are still problems in some of these areas that have been caused because it's so disconnected. This is no longer a well-connected area, and we're paying the price. I think ideally we would sneak another road through here, but the heights aren't going to allow it. And I think this is a pretty reasonable problem. Maybe we could sneak a road through here. And this might be where I end sneaking a road through here. So I have very much taken some liberties to make this happen, but we need more connectivity. That is an awful intersection. And our connectivity is going to be kind of awful through here as well. But it's so necessary to be able to get out of an area with more than one way of doing so that we're gonna do it. Yeah, that is terrible. This whole area has problems at this point, so I think we're gonna live with it. So our police coverage, that's one of the problems we're seeing here. I know that I moved crematorium over here, and I moved it away. Since I'm adding crematoriums, here's number 6. we're gonna just keep going, and we're gonna add some landscaping back here to make this seem like it's more of a finished area. And there we go. This area is still suffering. This is really unfortunate. I'm really regretful of how this has turned out in this area. All of the death. Curious, our death care, even though we've added all that, we're still suffering. So I'm guessing that's partially traffic. Yeah, it's been sinking, and then it's also some of our lack of coverage in certain areas is leading to longer trips. I have a sneaking suspicion if we take a look at that crematorium I just placed, we're going to see just that. Yeah, it's going across the city already, rather than serving the area right next to it, which is not ideal. So I've tried to improve this. I'm gonna hope that the other builders address this as well, because this is a bigger issue than just this little area that we have over here. Now I'm gonna add a couple more. I can't leave it like this. I can't. So we're gonna use some eminent domain, call it a redevelopment over here in the downtown area. Over in Jedi's area, we had a cemetery that's now full. We're gonna add a crematorium. And over in this neighborhood as well, same sort of deal. Crematorium. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully. We could also use it up here. It's a nice little area, but it's really removed. Oh, we have one. So it's just one of those things that we're going to struggle with a little bit because of the sprawling nature of this community. But that at least should help some. I don't know that there's much more that I could do. I'm curious, do we have any? We don't have any drinking water pollution, so it's not that. It's just the situation that we have. We also, our healthcare, especially our elder care, is not good. I might add one more elder care facility just to try to round this out. Again, not many options to add this logically, short of adding a roadway connection and maybe adding one here and teeing up another development in the future. A hill. Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah, it's just a challenging area to work in. Maybe over here. This is an arterial, but it's in a scenic area. We're going to respect our elders and give them some views. We'll need to get some water out here, but I think that they should have adequate power. Yeah, power's connected, so this will work. Got a weird little bumpy situation over here. clean that up a little bit. So I think that's good. I would expect to see something like this over here. And we'll even improve it. We'll remove some of these trees so that the elders have a nice view of the water. We'll grade this out just a bit. And I think that's about all she wrote for me. This has been a really fun season. It's been a... well, no. We're not done yet. There we go. So that about wraps it up for me. This is my last episode of Season 2. So I really want to thank you for sticking with us this entire season. It's been a lot of fun. We still have one more guest builder and some more rounds to go. I look forward to watching right alongside of you. And I appreciate that you've stuck with me while I've been building this season. I know that it's been a different season. I've had some different challenges, but I think it's been a lot of fun. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. And please consider subscribing to the rest of the builders too. They're excellent. We're all doing interesting things, including lighting our cities on fire. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. You can see their names listed here, and they help me improve my content, and their support means the world to me, as does yours. Your likes, subscribes, shares, comments, they help grow the channel. I'm going to leave you with a brief city tour, and we will start that right now.